Welcome to Cheater Confessions. Let's get started with today's story. I was sitting at the kitchen counter sorting through a pile of overdue bills when Cheryl came in. She was calm. Her voice carried that tone people use when they've practiced every word. "Jeremy," she said softly, "I think we should take a little space. Just a break. No drama, no anger. We can stay friends." I looked up. She said it like she was suggesting a new diet, not ending a marriage. Her expression was light, relieved even, like she'd finally set down a heavy bag. "Friends?" I repeated. "Yeah," she said quickly. "I don't want to lose what we have. You're my best friend, Jeremy. I just think we've grown apart, and maybe some time apart could help us both breathe again." Her eyes searched mine, waiting for resistance. She wanted a fight, something that would make her feel justified. Instead, I gave her a slow nod. "If that's what you want," I said evenly, "then that's what we'll do." She blinked, caught off guard. "You're okay with this?" "I want you to be happy," I said. "If space will help, I won't stand in your way." Her relief was instant. She smiled and reached out to squeeze my hand. "Thank you. I knew you'd understand." I smiled back, but something inside me had already gone still. That smile of hers wasn't freedom. It was guilt wrapped in nice words. She thought she'd just rewritten the rules without consequence. "Let's keep it simple," she continued. "We'll live separately, but still talk. We don't have to hate each other." "Of course," I said quietly. She nodded, looking proud of her own maturity. "This'll be good for both of us." Maybe it would, just not in the way she expected. When she left the room, I sat there staring at the bills. Nothing about what she said surprised me, only how easily she thought I'd play along. I decided right then, I'd give her exactly what she asked for: space. The first week after her talk felt like living with a polite stranger. Cheryl floated through the house like someone trying out a new personality. She started wearing brighter clothes, posting motivational quotes online, and talking about self-growth. I didn't comment. I just watched. At first, it was small things. Her phone always face down, late-night texts followed by quick screen locks. She'd leave the house with that airy tone. "Going out with Kelly," she'd say, grabbing her keys. "Have fun," I'd answer without looking up. But Kelly wasn't texting her. I knew because one night she forgot her laptop open in the kitchen. Normally, I wouldn't have looked, but the message preview was right there. "Last night was amazing. Can't stop thinking about you. Nick," her manager. The conversation stretched back weeks. Flirty, careful at first, then less careful. Photos, plans, the kind of messages you don't send to a coworker. I sat there for a long time, reading just enough to confirm what I already knew. When Cheryl came home later, still glowing from wherever she'd been, she smiled. "You're still up." "Couldn't sleep," I said. "Just thinking." "About what?" "Bills? Life." She nodded, clearly distracted, her phone buzzing in her hand. I didn't mention Nick. Not yet. Arguing would only make her feel noble, like she'd been caught in some tragic love triangle. I had no interest in giving her that story. Instead, I decided to play my own game. She wanted friendship and space? Fine. I'd show her what those words meant. The next morning, I started documenting. Dates, hours, expenses. Not to weaponize them, but to remember. To stay grounded. I wasn't going to beg or explode. I'd stay calm, quiet, and deliberate. Let her build her fantasy. I'd be the one to pull the curtain when the time came. By the third week, I'd stopped acting like her husband. Not out of spite, out of principle. She wanted to take space, so I gave her exactly that. The first test came on a Sunday morning. She walked into the kitchen in her robe, holding a mug of coffee. "The sink's leaking again," she said casually. "Call a plumber," I replied without looking up from my phone. Her eyebrows pulled together. "You always fix stuff like that." "That was before," I said. "Friends don't do home repairs for each other. At least, not the kind of friends who need space." She blinked. "You're serious?" "Completely." That set the tone. A few days later, she texted me from work. "Can you grab groceries? We're out of eggs." I replied, "Sure. What's my half?" There was a long pause before she sent back, "You're kidding, right?" "Not at all," I wrote. "Roommates split expenses." That night, she came home with 2 grocery bags, Message received. The next week, I printed the utility bills, drew a line down the middle, and labeled them Cheryl and Jeremy. She stood there, staring at the papers like I'd lost my mind. "You expect me to pay half the gas bill?" she asked. "Seems fair," I said. "You wanted independence. This is what that looks like." Her jaw tightened. "You're unbelievable." "I'm consistent," I said quietly. The calmer I stayed, the more frustrated she became. Every time she tried to bait me into a reaction, I just nodded and smiled. Freedom, I realized, sounds romantic until the rent's due. She'd wanted to feel untethered, but now she looked restless, uneasy. The shine was fading. The game had changed. She wasn't my problem anymore, just someone learning what space really costs. By early March, Cheryl's new life routine was in full swing. Gym leggings, fresh highlights, that fake laugh confidence people wear when they're performing happiness. She thought I didn't notice, and I didn't correct her. I just kept the distance she'd requested. One Friday evening, she came into the living room wearing a tight black dress I hadn't seen in years. "Going out with friends from work," she said, adjusting her earrings in the mirror. "Sounds fun," I said. "Nick going too?" The brush froze in her hand. "What?" "Nick," I repeated, eyes still on my phone. "You've mentioned him before, right? Your manager?" She turned slowly. "Why would you ask that?" I looked up, gave her a calm smile. "Just making conversation. Friends should know each other's circles." She forced a little laugh. "You're ridiculous." "Maybe," I said. "Have a great night." She left in silence. When she returned hours later, I was still up, reading at the table. "You're still awake?" she asked. "Couldn't sleep," I said. "I keep forgetting how quiet the house gets." "Jeremy," she started, then stopped. "Don't worry," I said, turning a page. "You don't have to explain. We're just friends, remember?" Her eyes flashed, but she said nothing. She went straight to bed. After that night, she started avoiding eye contact. Every conversation felt staged. She'd talk about work, about trying new things, but her voice carried a nervous edge now. I kept my responses short, polite, and impossible to attack. Meanwhile, my notes grew. Dates, receipts, small details that painted the truth she kept trying to hide. I didn't need proof for revenge. I needed it to stay calm, to remind myself I wasn't crazy. By the end of the month, she was unraveling. The performance was cracking. She'd wanted a friendship built on freedom. Now she had both, but neither was going the way she'd imagined. The first time Megan showed up, it was unannounced. She knocked on the door one Saturday morning, holding a takeout bag and that sympathetic smile people wear when they already know more than they're saying. "Cheryl told me about the separation," she said. "Thought you might need some breakfast." I stepped aside, letting her in. "That was nice of you." Megan had always been Cheryl's closest friend. Smart, grounded, and painfully honest. Where Cheryl performed calmly, Megan actually lived it. "She said things are complicated," Megan said carefully. "That's one way to describe it." We sat down. She talked. I listened. For once, the conversation didn't feel like walking on eggshells. It was easy, normal. Over the next few weeks, she stopped by a few times after work, sometimes to drop off a book or just check in. Cheryl didn't seem to mind at first. She even joked about it. "Megan's probably keeping you sane." But as Megan's visits became more regular, the jokes stopped. One evening, Megan and I were on the porch, talking about music and work. She laughed at something I said, that genuine kind of laugh that doesn't hide anything. When Cheryl pulled into the driveway, her face froze for half a second before she smiled too brightly. "Didn't know we had company," she said, walking up the steps. "Megan brought that book you wanted," I said evenly. Cheryl nodded, eyes moving between us. "You two look comfortable." "Just catching up," Megan said lightly, but the tension was sharp enough to taste. Later that night, Cheryl sat beside me on the couch, pretending to scroll her phone. "You and Megan seem close lately." "We're friends," I said. "Isn't that what we're doing now?" She didn't answer, but I saw her jaw tighten. For the first time since she'd asked for space, I saw something real, not guilt, not pride, but regret starting to creep in. And I knew then that whatever story she'd written for herself was about to start falling apart. By April, Cheryl's new life was starting to show cracks. The late nights stopped being exciting, and the calls she tried to hide grew shorter. She'd come home tired, not glowing anymore, like someone chasing something that didn't want to be caught. Nick, the man who'd seemed to offer her freedom, had gone quiet. I didn't need to check her phone to know it. You can see it in someone's shoulders when they start realizing they bet on the wrong hand. Meanwhile, Megan's visits didn't stop. She didn't come around out of pity. She came because we actually enjoyed talking. It was honest, easy, and calm. No games, no pretending. If Cheryl was the performance, Megan was the reality that followed. One Thursday, Cheryl showed up at the kitchen table with an envelope of unpaid bills. "We're falling behind," she said. I didn't even look up from my laptop. "On your half, maybe." She glared. "You're really going to keep that up?" "We're still married, Jeremy." "Legally," I said. "But emotionally?" "No, you wanted independence. Independence comes with bills." She pushed the papers toward me. "This isn't funny." "Never said it was." That night, she tried calling me from the living room after I'd gone to bed. "Jeremy, can we talk?" "Tomorrow," I said. Friends need sleep, too. The next day, Megan dropped by to return a wrench she'd borrowed. She saw Cheryl standing at the counter, eyes red from crying. Megan didn't say anything, just nodded politely and left the wrench on the table. After she left, Cheryl turned to me. "You two talk a lot." "Yeah," I said. "She listens." Something in her broke then. Not loudly, just a quiet realization that the ground beneath her was gone. Over the next week, she kept trying to pull me back with small gestures, cooking dinner, sitting beside me, pretending things were normal. But I didn't take the bait. She'd wanted a life without rules, without weight. Now she had it. One evening, Cheryl finally broke the silence. I was in the garage cleaning tools when she appeared in the doorway, hair damp, eyes tired. "Can we talk?" she asked quietly. I nodded and wiped my hands. "Sure." She hesitated before speaking. "I ended things with Nick." I didn't react. "Okay." She looked confused, almost offended. "That's it? Just okay? I thought you'd want to know." "I already knew," I said. "The way you've been walking around here lately, anyone could tell." Her shoulders slumped. "I made a mistake, Jeremy. I thought I wanted freedom, but it wasn't what I expected." "I'm sure it wasn't." She stepped closer. "Can't we start over? Forget all this separation nonsense. Go back to the way we were?" I studied her face. "Back to pretending everything's fine while you text someone else at midnight? That's not fair." "Neither was what you did," I said calmly. "But I'm not angry anymore, Cheryl. Just done." Her voice cracked. "You don't mean that." Before I could answer, there was a knock at the front door. Megan's voice called from the porch. "Hey, I brought dinner." Cheryl's eyes widened. "Of course she's here." "She's a friend," I said. "You know how that works?" Cheryl's voice rose. "Don't play that with me, Jeremy. You're seeing her." I didn't deny it, and that silence told her everything. "You're choosing her?" she whispered. "I'm choosing peace," I said. Something I stopped having a long time ago. For a long moment, she just stood there, shaking her head, tears starting to fall. "You were supposed to wait for me," she said softly. "I did," I said. "While you were out finding yourself." She turned away and walked out without another word. I didn't follow. For the first time in months, the house didn't feel tense. It just felt quiet. Real peace isn't loud. It's the sound of a door closing for the last time and knowing you don't have to open it again. 3 months later, the papers arrived. Plain manila envelope, no surprises inside, divorce finalized, no fight, no lawyers clawing over furniture. Cheryl signed everything without a word. Maybe she finally understood what silence meant. She'd moved in with her sister across town. Every few days, I'd get a text, short, polite messages that felt like echoes of a life already gone. "Hope you're doing okay. I miss our talks. Do you think we could get coffee sometime?" I never replied. Some words don't deserve answers. Megan didn't rush in. She gave me space, the kind Cheryl once demanded, but never respected. We saw each other on weekends, grabbed dinner, and sometimes sat on the porch. It felt real. Not a performance, not an act of revenge, just two people who had learned what honesty sounded like. One evening, a message came from Cheryl's sister. "She's moving out of state. Wants to start fresh." I stared at it for a long moment, then just wrote back, "I wish her peace." That night, Megan came by with takeout. "You okay?" she asked. "Yeah," I said. "Better than okay." We ate quietly for a while before she smiled. "You know, if someone wrote your story down, no one would believe it." "Probably not," I said. "But it's mine, and that's enough." For the first time in a long time, the world didn't feel heavy. When I think back to that morning at the kitchen counter, Cheryl standing there rehearsing her mature speech about space, I almost laugh. She got everything she asked for: space, freedom, friendship without commitment. And I got what I didn't know I needed: clarity, peace, and someone who didn't treat love like an experiment. Sometimes the best revenge isn't fury or payback. It's calm. It's moving forward without noise. It's letting someone live with the life they built while you start living yours. Cheryl wanted space. She got it. And I got Megan, and the kind of quiet that finally felt like home. Thank you for watching.